The meeting is duly opened and I'm welcoming everybody. I know this meeting is called in a very, it's a very neat meeting because we, where I'm sitting, I received quite a lot of complaints from quite a lot of people and even media houses. That we need to talk to these issues, and I tried to speak to the minister. The minister, with all his programs that he had, he ended up agreeing that we can have it tonight in order at least to respond, for us to get to know really what is it that the people are complaining about things we're not doing as a department. So it will be helpful, Minister, that you take us through thoroughly what is it that is we are doing about these issues, and if any that we are not doing, what is it and why? It will help. So the meeting is opened and we are truly welcomed. Can we that observe a moment of silence for mediation and prayer? Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I needed to have this meeting open to everybody, even the media, if they do. But unfortunately, I've got a load shedding where I'm sitting. So even if I open my camera, you might not see me. Those that want to see my face. But those that can, please try to do that. I'm sitting in a car somewhere in the bundles of Sakana.
As long as it is safe, Chair, where you are fine.
No, I'm very safe. I'm very safe. I'm very safe. I'm very safe. A filling station next to my house. Okay. Let's get into the agenda is as put forward. Do we have any apologies, Nosipo?
No, Chairperson, there is no apology.
Okay. If that is the case, we want to get presentation by the department through the minister, if the minister is. If it's not, the deputy ministers, I think they are here.
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you very much, members of the Portfolio Committee, honorable members. I need to acknowledge the presence of deputy ministers who are here, Mahlobo and Makadzi, and all other people of our country who are here, including media houses that are here. Chair, I have to express our sincere gratitude to you and the Portfolio Committee for granting us the opportunity to account to you directly and indirectly account to the public, all the citizens of the country, especially those who have an opportunity to be with us online this evening. I want to start by saying that democracy in our country is now 28 years old. And continue to say, or go on to say, it takes a while for democracy to entrench itself in a country, especially a country like ours, which had to arise from ashes of the apartheid era and get itself into real democracy as people were calling for, all of us calling for. So it takes a while for it to settle and become entrenched. And democracy depends on how far it was shaken at the time when it was, but also the will of the people to take it further and ensure
Recording in progress.
it does get entrenched. Now, for this to happen, as we have seen in many countries, you need pillars for your democracy to circle and entrench itself. And then allow time for it to mature. And I'm happy to say that my own assessment is that South Africa's democracy is maturing, but yet, in a way, it's still in its early stages. Because entrenched democracies, you talk about hundreds and hundreds of years, not just 28 years. But it is essential that these pillars be ensured by all the citizens of the country and all other organs, that you have these pillars and you assist that these pillars become stronger and stronger as democracy grows, so that should any storm come, they will be able to withstand it, so that that democracy survives. And in the context of ourselves here, we do wish and do want, by all means, to ensure that the current trajectory of democracy continues and gets to entrench itself. Now, one of the important pillars, other than a growing economy, I mean, for democracy to mature and be stronger, is a growing economy, of course. So other than economy or economic growth, other than healthy social security, other than preventing crime, is anti-corruption and anti-fraud. Because you can never entrench democracy in a country where there is rife corruption and there's rife fraud and there's no accountability. And it's just a free flow for those who are able to extend their hands to the tills of the nation and steal and plunder. And therefore, it's common cause that anti-corruption and anti-fraud is one of the pillars of a healthy democracy, as it were. I think that's why South Africa has taken care to be a signatory of a number of international conventions, and not just signatory, but also active in those conventions internationally, as supervised by the AU or hosted by the UN, but also in the continent, and also in the subcontinent, that is in Southern Africa. We should be proud of this, and we should ensure that we're active on all of them, as we are at the moment, but continue to be active, so that we assist our own democracy internally, so that it grows and it becomes stronger. Now, it's important to adopt this as individuals, as the public sector, and including as the private sector, so that people benefit, so that there's justice in South Africa, so that there is a fairness in the country in terms of distribution of resources as the country may afford. And therefore, South Africa did well, or has done well, even appointing a judge to lead a commission to probe what was then alleged in the form of Zondo, Judge Zondo, in terms of what was alleged as corruption, and which finally, after doubt and denialism in some cases, finally we have these reports after Judge Zondo and all other people went through a period investigating this fraud and corruption. And South Africa has had to pay, in other words, taxpayers have had to pay for all this probe and so on. So it's a very expensive exercise once you have allowed corruption. It's very destructive by nature. It deprives people of their rights. In this case, in the case of water and sanitation, the Constitution of the Republic, for instance, guarantees water, access to water to everyone. And it's a right that everybody must enjoy. And it's only when there's no corruption, it's only when there's no fraud that so many people can actually get access and enjoy this right. Our mantra in water and sanitation is that water is life. And indeed, water is life. And sanitation is dignity. And we need to live up to this mantra and up to the constitutional imperatives, as I've referred to it. It is in this context that we requested the meeting after 2 articles were published in the Daily Maverick, which were written by a journalist called Angus Beck. And from where I sit, not only were the articles decrying corruption, but they were then pointing a finger at us, me in particular, the ministry, the DG, and the department, that we are ignoring corruption. And I'll come to that shortly. We're ignoring it, we're not fighting it, we're not interested in it. In other words, in the fight against corruption and fraud in the department. But these articles were written in a manner that, from where I sit, they lend themselves in a lot of interpretations. And one such interpretation, if you look at the nuances that are there, the articles lend themselves into what I think was an effort or an attempt on the side of the journalist and with whoever he is working with to use the past corruption sludge in this department, but to flood us. Because the articles are not pointing at corruption that we are doing. If there is a perception of facts that point to that, everything that is said is things that have happened in the past. But then we are now accused of various things in relation, but in relation to that, those corrupt activities in the department. Now, in short, what the journalist is saying is that Minister Mkhunu got appointed in August last year, and in a week, Minister Mkhunu, one of the things that he did was to disestablish or dissolve an advisory committee that we found there. We found 4 of them, and in particular this one called Disciplinary Advisory Committee, which we will deal with in detail shortly. So Minister Mkhunu came, found this committee, And according to the journalist, this committee had been appointed and was hard at work, fighting corruption, producing 2 million files, 90,000 folders, hundreds of thousands of emails and documents, and more than 2 terabytes of data on an external server. This is what the journalist said. And he then says, after dissolving this, we're not doing anything to probe corruption that this committee was or had either revealed or they were revealing. And he goes on to say that we were doing this because we're part of the so-called cadre deployment, myself in particular, and the DG. Now, you see, during the apartheid era, in indigenous African communities, if you wanted somebody to even to be killed and to be understood to be horrible, you would say so-and-so is a spy. You would have finished your business with that particular person. And people would then feel free to do whatever they would want to do. And in the context of the ravages of corruption in South Africa, and in the context of the rejection of corruption by millions of people in South Africa, vast majority of people in South Africa, when you say somebody is ignoring corruption, it's a very, very, very serious statement. It's a very serious statement, especially corruption of this extent. Now, we've had an interview with the journalist and we explained ourselves on this, but then shortly thereafter, there was another article along the similar lines, making the same allegations that we had explained and had gone out of our way to be very thorough in explaining those in terms of what exactly is happening in the department, what has happened on corruption. And so that's why I'm saying it doesn't look like the journalist approached us with an open mind to find out what is happening with corruption. But it was a closed mind not to listen to us, but instead continue with whatever that he wanted to say. And in the process, making sure that we are flooded with past corruption sludge, which we have nothing to do with. And it is not even true that we are ignoring any of corruption that is happening, as we will show later on. Not at all. Why would we ignore corruption, especially of this size? He is making references to a whistleblower who is choosing not to blow anything to the law enforcement agencies if we are not trusted, but just hide with this whistleblower who is not taking all this information to any reliable law enforcement agents, nor is the whistleblower coming to us. But it is kept in a corner, in a dark corner, and it is referred to cast doubt on our stance on corruption, and indeed to say that we are ignoring corruption because we are supposed to be cadres, both myself and the DG. Now we're denying this, and we're saying it is wrong that we are cast in this in this manner, despite our going out of our way to explain ourselves in facts, not rhetoric. And therefore, we've made this effort to say that we need to account to the portfolio committee and also to the public, because these two articles have been read throughout, and I think they have been distributed throughout, and many people are aware of them. And it is important that we explain ourselves and account in this particular manner. I do want to say, as I call upon the DG to give you the report in detail, that there is just no way that we will be detracted to the content of these articles and not concentrate and focus on our work of fighting corruption. We will continue, but we don't want to take this thing lying and just take it for granted because of the situation in the country, the context of corruption, and the rife problem of corruption generally in the country. And therefore, which of course we must hasten to say that people must understand that not everybody is corrupt, even in government. And therefore, I think there must be what we are saying as I sit down is that because the journalist is saying that there are 2 million files, there are 90,000, whatever, all this information, we're going to pursue this matter, taking legal advice, so that even if we can't get access ourselves, because we have written letters to the committee, because there's obviously a link between this committee I'm supposed to have dissolved and some of the things that are being said about this which are said to be coming from the whistleblower. We can't fail to see that. And because therefore, because of this view that we have, we want to go out of our way and take legal opinion and pursue the matter so that we get this information. We do everything in our power, because we have said we don't have what is being said, but we do have what will be presented here. But what I'm saying is that we want to pursue this matter and get this information so that the public can know what is it that is contained in this 2 million 2 million files, 90,000 folders, hundreds of thousands. We need to get this information, and the public needs to know and get access to this so that we can see what is it that we're ignoring that is in this. And legal opinion, if it takes us to court, we will pursue the matter in court so that finally we get to the bottom of this matter, because it's so serious. At this stage, Chair, I want to call the DG to give us this report, or to present this report of the department and ourselves, all of us, about the state of the department in relation to corruption and measures that are being taken against corruption. Not this thing that we're ignoring corruption, as would be seen clearly in the presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Phillips.
Thank you, Minister.
DG, avoid being so wild, like the minister said. Give us information and to the point. It will help us to get factual things. And I understand the response of the minister is opening space for you, that when you talk, fill the gaps in between. So please do fill the gaps as he has opened up for you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'll do so. I've loaded the presentation. Is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. The contents of our presentation. Firstly, I'm going to briefly summarize the allegations made in the Daily Maverick articles referred to by the Minister. Secondly, I'm going to give facts about the advisory committees appointed by the former Minister. Then I'm going to talk about the status of the disciplinary cases referred to in the Daily Maverick articles. I'm going to briefly cover what's happened with disciplinary cases related to financial misconduct in DWS over the past 10 years. I'm then going to talk about the status of financial misconduct cases referred to DWS by the Special Investigating Unit, and also the status of cases referred to the SA Police Service by the Department for Criminal Investigations, the status of the forensic investigations by the Department's Internal Audit Unit. In the letter of invitation to this meeting, Chairperson, you indicated we should also talk about the impact of fraud and corruption on water and sanitation service delivery. So we've included a couple of slides about that. And then finally, we go into the conclusions. So in this slide and the next slide, I've just summarized the key points made by the journalist in the Daily Maverick articles. The articles indicate that the journalist, Mr. Beg, is in possession of documents that reveal details of officials' complicity in corruption and financial mismanagement related to water and sanitation projects running into tens of billions of rands over a decade. They also indicate that a whistleblower frustrated by a lack of action against more than 65 top officials in the Department of Water and Sanitation who were implicated in widespread corruption has given the journalist access to reports. They indicate that according to the whistleblower, former Minister Sisulu's response was to institute a DWS disciplinary committee. And I've put sick there because that is what the journalist refers to this committee as, a disciplinary committee. But actually, as I will indicate shortly, it wasn't actually a disciplinary committee, which was tasked with taking disciplinary action against officials implicated in the forensic investigation reports. The articles also indicate that there were roughly 65 official charge sheets, either produced or in review by the department's disciplinary committee after an investigation lasting almost 2 years. The articles also allege that within a week, the incumbent DWS minister, that is Minister Mchunu, came in and closed down the disciplinary committee and its work. And they indicate that in disbanding the disciplinary committee, Mchunu and the department have chosen to ignore the investigation into his corruption-riddled department, effectively closing the book on 2 years digging by a multidisciplinary forensic investigation team, which is what the journalist called the Disciplinary Advisory Committee appointed by the former minister, which set out a plan for the clean rinsing of the department. The articles also indicate that many questions remain for Mchunu, among them why the disciplinary committee's 2 million files were not handed to the SIU, and what happened to the 65 cases involving senior officials implicated in the leaked documents produced by the disciplinary committee investigations. The articles further allege that the Director General's requesting, that is, Mr. Beg sent me questions, and in my response, I requested that Mr. Beg shared the leaked documents with me. And the articles allege that by requesting that, the Director General of the Department of Water and Sanitation is thus asking the Daily Maverick for details of an investigation that his own department carried out. The leadership of an entire government department at the highest level has ignored and mislaid 36 million worth of critical in-depth investigations conducted by their own department. The articles further indicate that Mchunu and Phillips should both, with the latter having this week confirmed that the department is committed to proper consequence management for financial misconduct, answer why they didn't pick up where the investigation had left off, ready to pursue their colleagues and comrades through the remaining trusted legal channels available to them. Chairperson, as will be illustrated in the following slides, these allegations are misinformed, misleading, and provide an inaccurate description of the roles and responsibilities of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee appointed by the former minister, where it obtained its information from, and what has occurred with investigations since the term of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee came to an end with the end of the term of the former minister. Chairperson, in November 2019, the former minister appointed a committee, an advisory committee called a Stabilization and Efficient Functioning of the Water Sector Committee, for the purpose of advising her and the DG on, amongst other things, general HR and labour relation matters, including the fast tracking of outstanding, pending and new disciplinary cases. The members of this committee were appointed in terms of Section 99 of the National Water Act, which empowers the Minister of Water and Sanitation to appoint advisory committees. That committee consisted of 14 members. On the 7th of December 2020, the former minister disestablished the Stabilization Committee and appointed a new committee called the Disciplinary Advisory Committee, which comprised of 7 members, also appointed in terms of Section 99 of the National Water Act. The members of that Disciplinary Advisory Committee were Ms. S. Shabangu, Advocate J. DeLonga, Ms. W. Dukuza, Mr. D. M. Gaga, Mr. S. Mbacha, Ms. M. Mokwena, and Mr. R. Sabia. The former minister also appointed 3 other remunerated committees between 2019 and 2021, including the National Rapid Response Task Team, the Water Advisory Committee, and Water Services Committee. And all of these committees were either appointed in terms of Section 99 of the National Water Act or in terms of Section 76 of the Water Services Act, which also empowers the Minister of Water and Sanitation to appoint remunerated advisory committees. The Disciplinary Advisory Committee had a terms of reference which was approved by the former minister. And that terms of reference stated that its role was to support and advise the Minister and Director General on investigations into maladministration, fraud and corruption, audit findings and any other misconduct-related matters, on outstanding investigations and disciplinary cases with the view of ensuring that these cases are finalized, to attend to the backlog of cases as identified by the Auditor General with the view of urgently removing the backlog of cases, to ensure the provision of security to those providing evidence when required, and also to support and advise on media and communication with regards to investigation, disciplinary matters and ethical behaviour within the water sector, and to support and advise regarding legal related matters in relation to investigation, discipline, communication and integrity related matters. Chairperson, the key point here is that it must be emphasized that the role of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee was to support and advise the Minister and Director General. So the allegation in the Daily Maverick article that it was a disciplinary committee tasked with taking disciplinary action against officials is not true. It was tasked with supporting and advising the Minister and Director General. In fact, in terms of the prescripts governing discipline in the public service, it would have been illegal for an outside advisory committee to play the role of implementing discipline within the department and taking disciplinary action against officials. After its appointment, the department provided the Disciplinary Advisory Committee with a list of all 63 of the current disciplinary cases which were current at that time. Most of those cases had emanated from Auditor General findings as well as investigations conducted by the Chief Directorate Internal Audit's Forensic Unit, the Chief Directorate Risk Management, as well as the Special Investigating Unit. So here I must emphasize, Chairperson, that the department provided the Disciplinary Committee with information on this 63 disciplinary cases which it was dealing with at the time. Of those 63 cases, 18 of them were at senior management level and 45 of them were below senior management level. Although we still don't have the information that Mr. Begg refers to in his articles, it appears that these are the roughly 65 cases referred to in the Daily Maverick articles. They were not cases identified by the Disciplinary Advisory Committee. They were cases that the department was already working on, which were reported by the department to the Disciplinary Advisory Committee. And the role of that Disciplinary Advisory Committee was to monitor the ongoing implementation of disciplinary processes by the department, not to implement the disciplinary processes. and on an ongoing basis, the department shared its progress with the implementation of disciplinary cases with the Disciplinary Advisory Committee. And the role of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee was limited to engaging with the department's progress reports and providing the department and minister with advice and recommendations. This table summarizes the cases provided by the department to the Disciplinary Advisory Committee. You can see from the table that they weren't all related to financial misconduct. Some were related to issues such as negligence or insolent behavior or insubordination, in addition to issues related to financial misconduct. In January 2021, when these cases were provided to the Disciplinary Advisory Committee, they were in the form of findings from investigations which required disciplinary processes to be initiated. Turning to the costs of the advisory committees appointed by the former minister, the remuneration in respect of the stabilization and disciplinary advisory committees was over a 3-year period, ending in the 21-22 financial year, was 14.7 million for the stabilization committee and 6.98 million for the disciplinary advisory committee. The Disciplinary Advisory Committee members were appointed by the former minister on a part-time basis for a maximum of 8 hours per day and 15 working days per month, paid on an hourly basis based on monthly reports and timesheets with descriptions of work done. The contracts of the members of the committee indicated that they were remunerated for advice, support, preparatory work, sitting fees, and subsequent reporting, not for taking disciplinary action as indicated in the Daily Maverick articles. The chairperson and deputy chairperson of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee were paid 1,191 Rand per hour, and the other members of the committee were paid 871 Rand per hour. This table shows the total cost of all 5 of the advisory committees appointed by the former minister over those 3 financial years, with all 5 committees in total costing the department 63.5 million. The 36 million referred to in the Daily Maverick articles appears to refer to the cost of all the advisory committees appointed by the former minister for the 2020-2021 financial year, including the Water Advisory Committee, the Water Services Committee, and the National Rapid Response Task Team, in addition to the Stabilization and the Disciplinary Advisory Committees. The term of the appointments of the members of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee was linked to the previous minister's term of office, which is always the case with ministerial advisory committees. And the tenure of the committee terminated in August 2021 when the previous minister's term of office ended. Minister Mkhunu decided not to renew the term of office of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee for several reasons. Firstly, it was expensive to maintain these committees, and the expenditure on the Disciplinary Advisory Committee was not commensurate with the value that it added. The Disciplinary Advisory Committee was provided with information about disciplinary cases by the department, and then provided the Minister and DG with support and advice regarding the information. However, the department is already there to provide the Minister and DG with support and advice. Secondly, the disciplinary processes were being implemented by the department anyway, in terms of the legal prescripts governing disciplinary processes in the public service. And thirdly, the department has a statutory independent audit committee and a statutory independent risk management committee, both of which are also remunerated. And the roles of the audit committee and the independent risk management committee also include monitoring the implementation of disciplinary cases for financial misconduct. And there was therefore duplication with remunerated committees. Minister Mkhunu received a handover report from the former minister, which included a summary of 41 disciplinary cases. This was a summary of the current disciplinary cases in August 2021 at that handover time. And those 41 were part of the 63, which I referred to earlier, which the department provided to the former minister to include in her handover report. At the time, Minister Mkhunu requested a full report from the Disciplinary Advisory Committee, but this was never provided to him. The acting DG of the department in August 2021 also wrote to the former chairperson of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee, requesting her to submit a handover report in respect of work that had been done by the Disciplinary Advisory Committee, but no response or report has been received to date. I again wrote to the former chairperson of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee on the 3rd of May this year, requesting the report, and since no response was received, I've now sent a letter of demand to the former chairperson of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee requesting the report. We now turn to the status of the 63 cases, which appear to be the cases referred to in the Daily Maverick articles. Of the 41 disciplinary cases summarized in the handover report from the former minister to Minister Nkunu in August 2021, 21 have since been finalized. As at 30 April 2022, 20 of these cases were still being attended to and are in various stages of finalization. If you look at the total of 63 cases, 43 of them have been concluded as follows. 6 were not finalized or could not be finalized because the employees either resigned or retired. 3 were withdrawn due to a lack of evidence or where the representations by employees were insufficient to pursue disciplinary action. 1 employee was found not guilty, and 33 cases have been found guilty through disciplinary processes, and the sanctions implemented are listed in the table, including 4 dismissals, 8 suspensions without pay, 5 final written warnings, and 9 written warnings. Just to put this table in context and to explain why there's a range of sanctions, discipline in the public service is regulated by the Disciplinary Code for salary levels 1 to 12 and Chapter 7 of the SMS Handbook for senior managers. These regulatory frameworks prescribe the following approaches to the application of discipline in the public service. Firstly, that the application of discipline must be applied progressively, i.e. going from corrective counselling through to verbal warnings, written warnings, final written warnings, and then formal disciplinary action. The department may decide on the relevant disciplinary process, whether formal or informal, and whether discipline such as counselling or formal disciplinary action, depending on the seriousness of the allegations. Pre-disciplinary process must include an alteram partem process, which offers the alleged offender the opportunity to provide a response to the allegations. And based on that response, consideration must then be given to concluding as to whether or not to proceed or to conclude the disciplinary process. The disciplinary process may result in a range of possible sanctions, ranging from warning to dismissal. And in a formal inquiry, the disciplinary process must be conducted by an independent presiding officer, wherein the alleged offender must be afforded sufficient time to prepare for the inquiry, must be allowed to be duly represented if they wish to do so, and has the right to challenge the employer's case, and if found guilty, to plead in mitigation of sentence on an appropriate sanction. And we have been stringently following those prescribed processes for all of these 63 cases. Looking back over a longer term period, the department has had 147 misconduct cases involving employees since 2013. And 118 of those have been finalized by the 30th of April 2022. At that time, 29 were still in process. 9 employees resigned during the disciplinary process, and those 9 are included in the 118 which have been finalized. And of the 118 that have been finalized, 2 cases were not pursued due to a lack of evidence. 1 was found not guilty, and 115 were found guilty with a range of types of sanctions. And by the way, during this period, the department had 5 different ministers and 7 different DGs or acting DGs. And during this time, the department has also been fully cooperating with all the SIU investigations and has been handing over all relevant information to the SIU. When officials leave the department after being accused or during a disciplinary process, when an official is transferred to another department while there's still a pending disciplinary matter, the case is transferred to the new department for them to conclude the disciplinary process. When an official has been disciplined and has been dismissed, the details of such a dismissal are captured on Persol, which alerts other departments should they wish to appoint such an official in future. It is an automatic block on the system, and the head of department of the other department would have to override that to make a decision to appoint such an official. When an official resigns whilst there's still a pending disciplinary matter, there's no further action that can be taken on the disciplinary side, but that official can be pursued through civil and criminal court. And you will see in the slides which are coming that we've reserved that we have referred quite a number of cases to the SAPS for criminal investigations. Turning now to the status of disciplinary cases referred by the Special Investigating Unit. And the sources of the information in the following slides are partly from a presentation made by the SIU to the Minister and to the department, including myself in March 2022, and also our own DWS disciplinary process records. Before we get into the actual SIU investigations and reports, perhaps I should just briefly recap the process that the SIU goes through. Firstly, it receives or follows up on allegations, and it can receive information about allegations of corruption from any sources. It assesses and verifies those allegations and the evidence, and where necessary, on the basis of its initial assessment, it then motivates for a proclamation to the President, and the SIU powers become active once the proclamation is published. SIU reports can result in different types of action, including civil litigation instituted in the SIU's name. The SIU also refers evidence of criminality to the National Prosecuting Authority and Asset Forfeiture Unit. Evidence of misconduct is referred to the accounting officer, and evidence of other transgressions is also referred to other relevant authorities, including SARS, for example. We are collaborating with the SIU on an ongoing basis. There are monthly meetings between the head of the SIU responsible for their water and sanitation investigations and our department. And our department is led in those meetings by our DDG for Corporate Services, who's also in charge of the internal audit unit, the legal unit, and the risk management units, who are also represented in those meetings. The SIU on an ongoing basis provides us with additional requests for information related to their investigations, and sometimes we give them that information immediately during the meeting. And we also provide the SIU with progress reports on the disciplinary processes. The SIU is very concerned that we do make progress with the disciplinary process, and if it feels that we don't, they raise that strongly with us, and they also raise it with the Minister. To date, 3 SIU investigations have been completed related to DWS and its entities. Firstly, Proclamation number R35 of 2008 related to allegations at the Mkhathuzi Water Board. Secondly, Proclamation number R54 of 2012 related to various allegations at the department. And thirdly, R54 of 2012 extension, which was an extension of number 2 related to the Vawani pipeline project by the Department of Water Affairs. The outcome of the first one was that a criminal case was referred to law enforcement and the officials resigned. The outcome of the second one was 58 different referrals, and I'll come just now to the referrals related to consequence management for DWS. There was also a criminal case referred to law enforcement, and there was some recovery of funds. And with regard to the third one, there was also an NPA referral and a disciplinary referral. This slide provides the details of the SIU report into allegations at the Mkhathuzi Water Board related to procurement. And the outcome was that a criminal case of fraud and corruption was opened against an employee. A criminal case was also opened against some of the board members. Those criminal investigations are underway, and 3 implicated employees of the Mkhathuzi Water Board resigned prior to the completion of the SIU investigation. With regard to R54 of 2012, the various allegations at the department, the investigations were completed and they were presented to the President. 58 different referrals were made in respect of the investigations, 28 of which were criminal referrals, 13 were VAT referrals, and 17 were disciplinary referrals. Turning to those 17 disciplinary referrals, the following slides go through each of the disciplinary referrals. Members have this presentation. We sent it together with the articles published in the Daily Maverick. There's 15 covered here. The reason for that is that 3 of the referrals related to one individual, and that's why we are covering 15 cases here rather than 17. So the table shows the official's rank, the charges and the status of the disciplinary action for each case. So for the first case, the charges related to mismanagement of state finances and violation of the code of conduct. And in this case, pursuant to the Audit alteram process, the acting DG accepted that there was no mismanagement of state funds and the official had procedurally disclosed her interest in the company, and the charges were not pursued and the case was closed. With regard to the second case, the charges related to fraud and the official was dismissed from the department. With regard to the third case, the charges related to failure to disclose interest in a company, and again, pursuant to an Audit alteram process, the acting DG accepted in 2010 that the official was not an SMS member and therefore the rule was not applicable to her at that time. And she provided proof of resignation in 2010, which was only processed by the CIPC in 2015. So the acting DG at the time decided not to pursue the matter further. With regard to the fourth case, the charges related to fraud, the official resigned from the department before finalization of the matter. With regard to the fifth case, which also related to fraud, the official resigned from the department. With regard to the sixth case, which also related to fraud, the official was given a final written warning after making representation to the department as to why a formal disciplinary action should not be instituted against her. With regard to the seventh case, which related to fraud, the official was found guilty and sanctioned with a final written warning and 3 months suspension without pay. With regard to the eighth case, which related to fraud, the official resigned. With regard to the ninth case, which related to conflict of interest, it was discovered that actually the official was a handyman employed in their former job and not a company director, and their signature had been fraudulently acquired to make out as though the official was a company director for BE purposes. And so the acting DG at the time elected not to pursue the charges against that official. With regard to the 10th case, the charges related to dishonesty and fraud, the official resigned. The SIU traced the official and disciplinary was referred to the HOD at the Department of Social Development where the employee was employed. With regard to the 11th case, the charge was fraud. And in that case, it was wrongly referred to as it was not an official of DWS, but the SIU has traced the official and disciplinary was referred to the HOD at the other department. With regard to the 12th case, the charge related to dishonesty, fraud, and financial misconduct. The official was given a final written warning after making representation to the department as to why formal disciplinary action should not be instituted against her. With regard to the 13th case, which related to dishonesty and fraud, the official was again given a final written warning after making representation. With regard to the 14th case, which related to dishonesty and fraud, the case has been finalized and the official was issued with a final written warning. With regard to the 15th case, which related to dishonesty and fraud and financial misconduct, the official submitted representation to the department. The official was not charged, and based on a lack of evidence, the department did not pursue the matter and the matter was closed. With regard to the extension of SIU Proclamation R54 related to the Vuwani pipeline, There were SIU observations indicating that there were some problems with the way that the project was managed. The outcomes were that the NPA was, some evidence was referred to the NPA relating to fraud. There was a disciplinary referral pointing towards possible misconduct of the DDG at the water trading entity. The disciplinary hearing was finalized and the official was found not guilty. But the DWS has filed a review application at the Labour Court to challenge this finding from the disciplinary hearing. The misconduct involved gross negligence. 3 SAPS referrals were made, and also referrals were made to the Construction Industry Development Board. The SIU is also currently still in process with 7 investigations into DWS and its entities. The first one being Proclamation R22 of 2016, related to a contract awarded to LT Consulting by Lepeli Northern Water. The second is R27 of 2019, which is a contract awarded to Blackhead by Lepeli Northern Water. The third is contract awarded by DWS to SAP, Proclamation R27. The fourth is Proclamation R28, related to the Tugela Khudutro Water Scheme. The fifth is Proclamation R4, related to Umgeni Water. And the sixth is Proclamation R33 of 2021, related to contracts awarded to EOH. Before going into the referrals coming out of these current investigations, it should just be noted that the SIU does refer evidence pointing towards misconduct or criminal conduct as soon as it becomes aware of such evidence, to allow the accounting officer to take immediate action. It doesn't necessarily wait for its reports to be finalized before making referrals. So with regard to the first one, with regard to Mopani Water and the wastewater emergency intervention, the allegation is that no procurement processes were followed. And the outcomes has been that the SIU has issued summons in the High Court. Civil litigation action has been taken to set aside the contract to a value of 4.1 billion. The SIU has concluded that the contract was unlawfully and irregularly concluded. Sorry. With regard to Proclamation R22, the SIU has referred evidence to the CIDB, which is conducting an investigation. Disciplinary referral has been made in respect of the Lepeli Northern Water CEO, who later resigned before the disciplinary hearing could be held. An NPA referral has also been made regarding the former CEO for contravening the PFMA. And a disciplinary referral has been made against the manager planning at LNW as well. The manager was charged with misconduct, and the disciplinary hearing began in March 2022 and is still underway. This investigation has been finalized by the SIU, which is currently finalizing its report to be submitted to the presidency. With regard to Proclamation 27 of 2019, related to the raising of the Sanin Dam wall, the allegation is corruption. Preliminary findings of the SIU are that the procurement process was not fair or competitive, and that there appears to be a relationship between 2 of the companies, which is improper, but the investigation is still ongoing. With regard to Proclamation R27 of 2018, which relates to contracts awarded by DWS to SAP, the allegation is that the purchasing of the SAP licenses for more than 500 million rand was done without correct tender processes and resulted in the payment of 35 million rand in kickbacks. On the 15th of March this year, the Special Tribunal ordered that the 2015 and 2016 contracts valued at just over 1 billion rand were declared constitutionally invalid and set aside. The court further ordered that SAP repay an amount of 413 million, which represents the total amount received pursuant to the 15 and 2016 contracts, less an amount of 68 million, roughly, owing to SAP for yearly maintenance fees in terms of the 2012 agreement, and there's a disputed amount of 83 million for third-party costs incurred by Saps, which still needs to be adjudicated. But Chairperson, I'm pleased to be able to indicate that 263 million has already been repaid to the DWS. It was repaid to us in March 2022. It's in our bank account as a result of this action by the SIU. And we've also saved further funds, which make up the 691 indicated here, because the rest of the contracts have been put in abeyance. With regard to Proclamation R28, related to the Tugela Grudetro water scheme, the allegation is that there's been unlawful or improper conduct by officials. The initial findings are that the appointed service provider was not on a panel of professional service providers. The service provider was appointed on the pretense of an emergency which was not justifiable, and that the appointed service provider was paid an amount before the project was completed. I think this investigation is still underway, and that's why no referrals have been done yet. With regard to R4 of 2019, related to a variety of projects in Umgeni Water, the allegations relate to maladministration and corruption. The outcomes so far have been that a referral has been made to the National Prosecuting Authority against 57 different individuals and entities. And referrals have also been made to the Asset Forfeiture Unit in respect of 45 individuals and entities. And the potential outcomes are that 5 disciplinary referrals will be made to Umgeni Water. Have been made to Umgeni Water. And Umgeni Water has finalized disciplinary processes for these referrals. And this resulted in warning letters being issued to the officials. And the SIU is also pursuing 45 administrative actions related to the Treasury database of restricted suppliers. The investigation is complete according to the SIU, and it's in the final reporting phase. All the matters referred to the NPA have been actioned and dockets have been opened. And the report should be submitted to the President shortly. With regard to Proclamation R33, where related to 4 contracts awarded to EOH, the allegations that the contracts were awarded irregularly, that the value of the contracts were inflated and unnecessarily varied and included additional scope of works, that the EOH paid large sums of money to subcontractors who allegedly did not perform any work on the contractors, who were disguised as enterprise development partners, that there were unusual and irregular upfront payments on the contracts, etc. And the SIU indicate that this investigation is still underway, so referrals haven't been made yet. The SIU has also indicated to us that it's also investigating currently some additional investigations which haven't yet become proclaimed SIU cases, including allegations related to Lepeli Northern Water Board's drought relief projects. And in this case, the SIU has assessed the allegations and has applied to the President for proclamation. With regard to the Amatola Water Board, there are also allegations regarding drought relief projects. And again, the SIU has applied to the President for proclamation. And the SIU has indicated to us that it's aware of various allegations and concerns voiced in the media and elsewhere regarding the War on Leaks program, the Dropper Block program, and the Sedibeng Water Board. And again, the SIU has assessed these allegations and has applied to the President for proclamation to investigate. Turning to civil recoveries by the SIU, this slide provides information on all the successful civil recoveries that have been made and the status, sorry, not the successful recovery, the actions taken by the SIU to institute civil recovery. So in the first one, the accused was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment, but there was no recovery as his business was liquidated and he was in jail. On the second one, the SIU continued to monitor the monthly installment of these monies and has successfully recovered 5.8 million rand for DWS. On the third one, the Special Tribunal ordered, this is the one that I talked about and the one that we've received money already. On this fourth one, R54, related to the Vuwani pipeline. This is still in process in court, as you can see from the report here. Then I'd like to turn, Chairperson, to the status of cases referred to Saps by the Department for Criminal Investigations. You can see in these slides here that we've submitted 22 cases to the South African Police Service for criminal investigations related to fraud and corruption in the department, including some which were referred since the appointment of Minister Mkhunu in August last year. I won't go through every single case in the interest of time, Chairperson. The honourable members and people in the meeting can read them in the presentation. Suffice to say that there are quite a large number of cases that we've referred to the SAPS. On some of them, there's been progress, but generally, we would have hoped that there would have been more progress in terms of action being taken against the people and investigations being completed and people being charged and having to go to court. We are engaging with the SAPS regarding progress, and I have requested a meeting with my counterpart in the SAPS to talk to the SAPS about progress with these cases with a view to seeing if they can be expedited and prioritized. Turning to the status of the forensic investigations by the department's own internal audit unit, 123 forensic investigations have been carried out by our own internal audit unit between 1920 and 21-22. 88 of the allegations were confirmed to be true, while 35 were unfounded. 20 of them are still under investigation, and 18 have not yet been investigated, but investigations will commence soon. The finalized cases were referred to either the employee, in some cases, one or more of these, either employee relations to take disciplinary action against the officials, the Saps and the Hawks for criminal investigation, or legal services in the Department for Civil Recovery in instances where the department has suffered financial loss. The cases have resulted in sanctions against the transgression across a range of different types of sanctions, and these cases have resulted in an amount of 996,883 rand being recovered through civil recovery processes, and a judgment of 27 million in favor of the department. We also try and address the awareness of the department and the culture in the department with regard to fraud and corruption. And our internal audit unit has conducted 65 different fraud and anti-fraud and anti-corruption awareness sessions during that period of 1920 to 21-22 in the department. So this slide summarizes the outcomes of forensic investigations and the outcomes of disciplinary action emanating from forensic investigations over the last 10 years. 9 officials have been found guilty, 3 officials not found guilty, 10 resignations, and the sanctions implemented are shown in the following table, including various types of the range of sanctions. Slide, Chairperson, I'm nearing the end now. As indicated, you requested us to also talk about the impact of fraud and corruption on water and sanitation service delivery. As indicated by the Minister, the impact of fraud and corruption is profound. Money that could be used to meet the urgent needs in society is taken elsewhere, which results in social and health impacts. And we can see on the ground the results of this, including water not coming out of the taps, the quality of the water coming out of the taps, in some places not meeting standards, pollution in the rivers from ill-maintained wastewater treatment systems, people not having safe water in their homes, There's a reduction in the quantity of public resources available for redistribution. Infrastructure projects are not well implemented if the procurement processes aren't done properly, and they can be much more expensive and take much longer than they were supposed to take. Bribery and extortion at the point of delivery can render public services unaffordable for a large segment of the population, and it's usually the poorest people who feel the impact of fraud and corruption the most, because when funds are scarce, any fraud or corruption diverts money from public purposes, and it's the poorest people who need that public money the most. I think I've covered these reasons as well. So in summary and conclusion, Chairperson, it is untrue that the department has not been pursuing the disciplinary cases referred to in the Daily Maverick articles. The articles are an inaccurate description of the roles and responsibilities of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee appointed by the former minister, where it obtains its information from, and what has occurred with investigations since the term of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee came to an end with the term of the former minister. In fact, the Disciplinary Advisory Committee had no legal authority to act as a disciplinary committee in terms of public service prescripts regulating disciplinary action. And the Disciplinary Advisory Committee actually obtained its initial information on the roughly 65, in fact 63 cases referred to in the articles. It obtained that information from the department. And the department has continued to pursue all these disciplinary processes related to all the cases which were referred to the Disciplinary Advisory Committee. As indicated earlier, the department had finalized 22 of the 63 cases by the time that Minister Mkhunu became minister. Of the 41 remaining cases summarized in the handover report from the former minister to Minister Mkhunu in August 2021, 21 have since been finalized, which shows that it cannot be true that the department has not been doing anything about these cases since Minister Mkhunu became minister in August 2021. As of the 30th of April 2022, the remaining 20 cases were still being attended to and are in various stages of finalization. Of the total of 63 cases, 43 cases have been concluded as follows. 6 were not finalized because the employees either resigned or retired. 3 were withdrawn due to a lack of evidence, or where the representations by employees were sufficient to not pursue disciplinary action. 1 was found not guilty, and 33 cases have been found guilty through disciplinary processes, resulting in 5 counselling, 2 verbal warning, 9 written warning, 5 final written warning, 8 suspension without pay, and 4 dismissals. In total, 270 million rand has been recovered, and an additional 622 million has been saved by the department since 2014 as a result of civil, legal, and criminal actions resulting from cases of corruption and financial misconduct. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, DG. I will want to open up for people to ask questions if they do, but I will, unless Minister, you want to say something that you think we did was left before we engage.
Yes, Chair. It's merely to say, emphasize that the 36 million that the journalist referred to was actually in the form of salaries, as DG has said, not the impression created in the article that it cost the taxpayers 36 million on investigative work. It was salaries for the committees, and the journalist persists to say, I said the handover was verbal when I said it was virtual, and I know what I'm talking about. There was nothing verbal, it was virtual. It was a virtual meeting. And the last two, I need to say, to the committee and everybody on the platform. When we came in August last year, there was no DG. There was only an acting DG. We now have a fully fledged Director General from January this year. Number two, we did not have a CFO. We're an acting CFO. We now have a fully appointed CFO. Number three, we didn't have a DDG corporate services. We now have a fully appointed DDG corporate services. Number four, we didn't have DDG water services management. I'm happy to say that from yesterday, Cabinet approved the appointment of the DDG in water services management, and we're negotiating with former employer that it starts on the 1st of June this year. We didn't have DDG regulations, compliance and enforcement, and I'm happy to announce that from yesterday, Cabinet approved the outcome of interviews, and we are pushing that this DDG starts on the 1st of June this year. The only thing we're remaining with now is a disciplinary case which were finalized pertaining to the DDG infrastructure. We found the case ongoing. We have been monitoring and pushing. It has been finalized. It's now at mitigation level, and we're hoping for outcomes very soon so that we have a full complement of DDG. As soon as we conclude this case, we'll advertise and then start working. As you see, Chair, whether it was whether it was internal cases, whether it was cases done by Saps or by Hawks there, or by SIU, there's no case that we have shuffled, that we have ignored. Nothing like that. All we have done is to monitor, make sure that we are aware of what's happening, and have meetings with various people who are, or bodies that are doing investigations internally and externally. And I want to say finally that this also goes to boards. All these cases is either by SIU or by Saps. Some of them have to do with, and if you look at it, this is why I said one day, the department looks like a police station if you look at cases, the number of cases, even though we cover 10 years. But each year, if you look at it, we've had many cases, and even now there are many cases. And I said one day, our department, this makes our department look like a police station in terms of dockets and cases. But none of them are being shuffled or ignored. Instead, we are aware of them and are dealing with them. What we don't have, Chair, is these 2 million files. What we don't have is that are alleged in the articles. What we don't have are these 90,000 folders, etc., etc. This is what I'm saying. We are seriously looking at that matter, because I don't know what kind of a person would stay with issues of corruption and then prefer to just article them and not actually get them channeled via authorities that deal with criminality in the country, and instead then blame us and then point a finger at us on things that we don't know. What we know, we're dealing with, and are dealing with decisively. But we can't deal with things that we don't know. And it's not because we are ignoring, we just don't know, and there's a difference. And so we don't want this thing to continue, that we are accused of ignoring criminality in the department without any evidence whatsoever, credible evidence. At this stage,
Okay.
maybe if we could allow...
Let's hear people to engage. Maybe they will want to give you that proof.
Okay. Okay.
On the portal, there is 2 hands. Let me just to you say, members of the committee, we have got a record 100 participants in the portal. So we really have gone far beyond the numbers that we normally have. We have got the Honorable Basson, and we had yes, Emma Powell. Good evening. Are you still here?
Hi, Mr. Mateo. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
I'm visiting your site. I've got questions.
Honorable Emma Powell, Honorable Rebecca Moshala, Honorable Kumbuzo Mpanza, Honorable Nancy Shlwai, for now. Manier Basson, sir.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good evening, Minister, DG, and all colleagues and media on this Zoom meeting. Firstly, Minister, thank you very much for being open with the committee. And DG, thank you for a comprehensive report. Now, I am fortunate that I've been a member of Water and Sanitation since 2014, and most of these cases that you have mentioned today have been before the previous portfolio committee. The SIU have met with the previous portfolio committee several times, giving us updates on all these corruption allegations. I think the biggest problem that we have, Minister, and the DG has mentioned it, that he will have a meeting with his counterpart in SAPD, is that these cases been dragged out now for many years. And you come in as a new minister, and now you've got to face the music of something that happened prior to 2014. I would really like us to get to a point where we can finalize all these cases. And unfortunately, if there's litigation, it could take years. I'm happy to see that there's a lot of these cases that's been finalized and dealt with. But I'm interested in only one case, and maybe I've missed it somewhere. On the SAP case, I would like to know on the SAP case, the kickback, where that money went, and is that money going to be paid back, or is that the loss of SAP? Because if SAP paid that kickback, it's their loss. But it would be interesting to know who received that kickback, whether it's someone in the department or politicians that have received this. But furthermore, I would say that yes, the media will be on our case. It should be transparent, and I think you have opened now, and it is transparent. There could still be a lot of cases that is still not been investigated that should be taken up. Myself made late charges against the previous minister, Nomvula Mokonyane, with the public protector on the Guyani projects. And I think that still needs to unfold, and we've seen what happened in the Zondo Commission's outcome. But for me, Chairperson, that would be my question to the department, and just what I experienced in the last 8 years in this portfolio committee, and I'm happy that what I've seen now is stuff that I've seen previously. And I don't miss, off the cuff, I don't miss anything that was previously on that's not been discussed now. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Mevrouw Powell.
Hi, Chair, thank you. So I firstly want to welcome this presentation from the Minister this evening. I think that it is long overdue. As you know, I had served on the committee for 2.5 years while it was still subjoined with human settlements, and I'll serve on human settlements. But this was something that I had actively pursued for a number of years while I was on water. And Honourable Ms. Shekhar, you will remember in committee how many times it was raised that we had asked Minister Sisulu, the incumbent at the time, to come and account to our committee on the appointment of all of these so-called external Section 76 advisory committees and her so-called National Rapid Response Task Teams, and the Minister didn't do so. You will also recall that I had referred the establishment of these Section 76 water services advisory committees to the public protector. And whilst the public protector acknowledged my referral in 2020, the matter has still not been dealt with by the public protector. We now know, thank you, Minister, for the information. Thank you, DG Phillips, for the information. We now know that 63 million rand in total was spent on these parallel bodies that were set up, that were essentially duplicating the functions that already existed in DWS. It goes to the heart of one of the issues that we as a committee had repeatedly raised, which was that all of these so-called advisory committees had been established, and there was a hashtag Sisulu anti-corruption campaign that was rolled out at an exorbitant cost, as my colleague Honourable Bassan has said, that essentially looked into a lot of the cases that had taken place during the terms of Gugile and Namvula Mokunyani. And so whilst I had made referrals to the public protector, we'd raised these exorbitant costs in committee. I had written to the chairperson asking that Sisulu come and account to us. It was raised in the media. A number of those media statements are now the subject of a defamation matter between Honourable Sisulu and myself when we raised the alarm of individuals like Susan Chibangu having been appointed to head up committees like this so-called Disciplinary Advisory Committee, given her conduct in government ministries and in Parliament previously, and despite referring these, no action was taken. So, Minister, I very much welcome the fact that you have come before this committee tonight, before Parliament tonight, and that you have played open cards with us. I think that a lot of the misery that has unfolded over the past week in terms of the anger that has been caused by certain media stories is as a result perhaps of not having provided this information sooner. And I think that it's a message that us as politicians must take seriously, that when the media come to us and they ask us for information, that we use those original opportunities to play open cards and to provide as much information as we can at present, because I think that really this does come down to a misunderstanding. But I'm grateful that essentially these Watergate stories have blown this open and that we are now as Parliament able to receive a full briefing. This briefing should have been given to our committee over 2 years ago. Chairperson, my questions are as follows. If the department had provided these 63 disciplinary cases to the so-called advisory committee, why did the department, and this is Director General Phillips, I understand that this is placing you in a difficult position because you have now finally been appointed as the DG, whereas Honourable Sisulu had kept her DGs on an acting rotational basis to ensure that they didn't have security of tenure and couldn't act decisively. So I understand that this is a difficult question for you to answer, but if you could please try your best to do so. Why did the department simply not brief and advise the minister at the time directly? Why did she require this committee at an additional cost of 7 million rand, these 4 committees totaling 63 million rand? Then this committee relied extensively on DWS's own internal forensic investigation and risk reports. All cases being heard at the disciplinary committee were referred by DWS departments themselves. What legislative provisions did the Disciplinary Advisory Committee rely on to duplicate the work of the department? or were they acting outside of the provisions of the law, essentially? And then it goes to the heart of these this 1 terabyte worth of files that we have been informed by the media have been provided to Mr. Beg. Where do these files come from? If the disciplinary committee of DWS provided these files to the disciplinary advisory committee, surely the department has got this information. Can we understand? Can we get more information on these on where all of these documents come from and what they contain? And then how can how can the public or MPs retrospectively hold the former minister and the advisory committees accountable for the huge sums of money that was spent on the scope of work that they were mandated to do by the minister when the reports that they compiled came directly from the department? What accountability mechanisms should we be following? And I think that this is a discussion that needs to happen in committee, because time and again, opposition MPs raise the alarm like we did. We make referrals to the relevant constitutional oversight bodies, nothing comes of it, and then we have explosions and blow-ups like this, and we find out that, you know, in excess of 63 million rand has been spent on these parallel bodies. And if the above 63 million rand has led to no value for the Department of Water and Sanitation, will this money, having been wasted, be written off to fruitless, wasteful, or irregular expenditure? How, Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, do you intend to deal with, and how does the Auditor General intend to deal with this 63 million rand? Was value derived from these appointments? Then, Minister, can I ask you, there are a number of officials. The corruption in this department is endemic, has been endemic. It's glad to see an update. I'm glad to see an update report. But what measures are being taken to pursue criminal charges against officials who have resigned? I have got names. I'm not going to mention names in committee as not to cast aspersions without understanding the full facts. But I've got a list of names of officials who have received letter after letter after letter after letter, who've been investigated and who have simply resigned. Is the department taking action to pursue criminal charges against officials that have resigned? And then how many new cases, Minister, have been reported and logged since you took over? And then, Mr. Mashego, can you please outline to us if there will be remedial action that Parliament will be taking in hearings that you will be calling as the chairperson of this committee, perhaps in conjunction with SCOPA, to deal with some of this, what I considered to be fruitless, irregular, and wasteful expenditure. And then lastly, just to say, I think that reports like this should come before Parliament more often. I think that they will avoid a lot of political messiness and a lot of aspersions being cast that upset and offend people. I think if we can ensure that there's a keen open flow of information, that will be most valuable. Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Mutala.
No, thanks so much, Chairperson. I think Honorable Emma has touched most of the questions that we were going to ask. But thanks so much for the Minister for taking such proactive decisions and for pushing this committee forward. We've been singing this thing of acting DGs, acting CFO, acting everything. It's been disturbing the committee. That's why we see so many corruption taking place because there's no one who is able to account in that regard. Let's hope the next financial year the department will improve because now we can see at least it is taking shape. On page 14 of your presentation that we received as members, there's an information on the handover report received from the former minister. The third and the fourth bullet on the presentation we received talked of the department requesting the detailed report from the Disciplinary Advisory Committee on August 2021. Was there no follow-up from August 2021 until the 3rd May 2022 when the DG requested a copy? Since no response, a letter of demands has been sent to the former chairperson of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee requesting the report. Could the Department of Water and Sanitation clarify the letter of demand and what it means legally, and why a reluctance to hand over a report? Thank you.
Honorable Mpanza, uyaphela.
My leader, and a long time we have not spoken because of this non-attendance to physical meetings. But thanks very much, Chairperson, Honorable Mashiko. And I just wanted to ask something, Chairperson. I am not participating here as an honorable member, but I am participating here as an interested stakeholder. And yes, representing Inhlangano yabahlali Sanco. Now, I just wanted to check, Chair, before I engage. Since I see even the number here is 100, so surely the committee does not have that number. So there's quite a number of stakeholders that has been invited in this meeting. And as I'm saying, Sanco is found, because I have, Sanco has developed a very serious interest in this issue of water and sanitation. And I have engaged with the minister many times on these issues, because there are quite a number of complaints and concerns that are raised by our structures throughout the country on issues that are related to water and sanitation. But what was most disturbing was this issue of the article. So I want to check, what is the role of these other stakeholders other than the members of the portfolio committee? Are we going to be given an opportunity after members have engaged on the matter, or we're just here just to observe and listen to the presentation? So because before I just say something, Chairperson, I wanted to get the clarity. If you can assist me on that one.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Under normal circumstances, you are invited to observe. It is members of parliament who has a right to attend any other meeting of parliament with speaking rights, but with no voting rights. I did point at you, even Honorable Powell, on the basis of you being members of parliament, that you do have the right to speak, not only not having the right to vote. I do not know of any clause in our rules that allow public to participate in a committee unless it is a taking caucus to the people, or if you are going to for oversight where you meet with the people at the stage. So I wouldn't want to create a precedent that I can't afford. I don't believe that because then you will have the Daily Maverick wanting to respond, everybody else wanted. It will change the prospect of the meeting. I really do want to ask that only members of parliament can speak. If you do want to, and I know that after this meeting, I will be called by a lot of medias and so forth and so on. Maybe you can be engaged there, but not in a parliament meeting, because this is tantamount to be a parliament sitting. So if people who come to parliament, they doesn't participate, they observe. So, but you can, it's a pity you have declared yourself a Sanco person, but I will not have an issue with you talking, using the status of being a member of parliament. But I will not allow people who is not member of parliament to engage with parliament discussions. It will be, I doubt it is allowed.
No, thanks very much, Chairperson, for that. Because I wanted to be honest, yes, before the members of the portfolio committee, so because the meeting is open and transparent, so I didn't want to come with another cap and then use the parliamentary position. So I accept your explanation, Chairperson. Thanks very much for that. We'll just listen and observe members of the parliament debating, and when the right platform comes, then we will engage. But thanks very much for the clarity. Thanks very much.
Honorable Nancy Sikwai, House Grace Seke, your hand was up, it is gone. Must I take it that it is gone forever?
Chair, I'm still here. I've got load shedding, but if I'm still connected, you can take me.
Thank you, Chairperson.
You will speak after Sis Nancy.
Okay.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I'm in Bloemfontein in the public hearings, but I'm also with you.
Okay.
Let's thank the minister to have managed to do a follow-up on some of the investigations. You see, because it's not the minister alone who is attacked and pursued by people as a corrupt. It is all of us and government. And I think I like his preface when she was saying we are perceived as corrupt with no accountability to our people, which is undermining the people that have sent us in parliament. Just 3 areas, Chairperson. I think this whole report, Honorable Minister, and yes, hello.
Hi, you well, all right.
Okay. What I think, Honorable Minister, is that there is a need to really strengthen the internal structures that are to address the issues of mismanagement of funds in government. Very clear here, there has been a lack of effectiveness by structures like internal audit, risk management, and many others. This is a situation which says government is not tight to manage funds of our people. I'm raising this from afar when this investigation has started. The second issue, Chair, is that I may be wrong on this question. I think there's a weakness maybe in the board act, the establishment of the board. How does it happen that the board itself have a hand in the funds which it administers? A board, CEOs and many other CFOs. I don't understand, how does it happen? So also there is a need to go back to that act on how best can tighten that act of the water boards. The last one, Chair, is that there is a need to have a rehabilitation, a proactive rehabilitation of officials. For me to handle millions, and I've never handled even 8,000 rand, something is not right. Something is not right in that process. I don't know in terms of their entry point in the department of counseling them. They get excited about Tuka. Yo, Malingaga, Tuka. So there is a need of some proactive rehabilitation so that I'm not getting very clear on the Amatole water entity. You recall that there were media issues which were clarifying in pages who is who, the relative of who, the CEOs, friends, and all those particular issues. I'm not getting in the report well that particular process. So if perhaps we could be told that it's coming, it's fine, but I'm looking on how others have been reported. If there are others that are left out, which will follow, it's okay, Chairperson. Thank you. Chair, can you hear me, Chairperson? No, I'm fine. No, we like you.
Chair, Chairperson Mashiko.
Chairperson Mashiko, are you still there?
Maybe he's off.
Muted.
He indicated that Grace could go second or after you, so maybe Grace should go while the chairperson tried to connect.
I think he's muted. He's still on the platform. Mashiko.
Maybe there's a load shedding in the garage there.
Yeah, that's
like load shedding in his car.
I'm in the garage too. Don't talk about that, DF. Chair Mashiko.
Grace, just continue. Let's go. Time is running.
Who are Grace, man? I can hear all of you. Why are you not talking?
Okay. You are not responding, Mashiko. I can't just undermine you, my leader. Thank you very much, Mashiko. And let me also join other members in thanking the minister for taking the ball by its horn in responding to the recent articles by Daily Maverick. And I must confirm from the side of the Portfolio Committee Chair to say even last year we have received a progress report in terms of the disciplinary cases within the department. And SIU also is presented to this department, meaning that we are still on course as part of our oversight. And even the department is on course in terms of updating the Portfolio Committee. Even this year around March, I think the minister has requested to brief the Portfolio Committee, and we have given him an opportunity to come and present the disciplinary cases that are before the Portfolio Committee. And I think we are on course, Chair, with regard to those matters. It's unfortunate that the people out there, the communities out there are still not having water, especially in other villages in Guyana. We do have learners who have been trained in the Ho on Leaks program that are roaming around the street in our areas. and a lot of money has been spent. But we are hoping that SIU and the department also will be able to hold those people accountable. Because yes, Minister, I want to agree with you that corruption is a crime against humanity. It is a sin, and unfortunately, we are using taxpayers' money to deal with our own issues. So my question relates to what Honorable Mutlala has raised, Chair, with regard to the money that has been paid to the so-called advisory committees, or whether your stabilization committee or whatever the name it is, your 63 million. I think this is a lot of money. And always we are complaining as the portfolio committee members to say your projects or your funding models are skewed in such a way that the majority of your projects are taking a long time to be finished. But on the other side, you are paying people a lot of money. Whereas we've got officials who are earning salaries, we've got internal structures like your audit committee, your risk committees that are doing these investigations. My question is that how, and as you are speaking, Minister, we don't have any report that has been handed over to your good self. I heard the DG has written a letter to them, but even as we are speaking, we have not yet received the report on what work has been undertaken. Because a lot of money has been spent. 63 million is a lot of money. So I'm just checking, what powers do you have as the department to make sure that these people or these structures that have been created in government or in the entity are accountable to our good selves? What powers do you have? Can the president also intervene in making sure that these structures are accounting or are handing over the so-called 2 million files that have been investigated within your department? I think that is my concern. My concern. There's a lot of money, and communities are struggling. Young people are struggling. They don't have jobs. But we are paying a lot of money to the people who are doing duplication. Actually, this is a duplication, because we've got officials who are on a daily basis getting their salaries, but we have managed to appoint too many structures that are doing the same work as the ones that are done by the officials. I think this is corruption at its best. As much as you are saying it's within the prescript of your legislations, but I think to me and to other honorable members, I think this is corruption at its best. We have raised this matter for quite a long time, and we have not received clarity to that. But I just want to check how best can we hold these people accountable in making sure that they avail the documents that have been consolidated to this department. And actually, what was their role? Thanks, Chair. I think those are my comments. Thanks.
Honorable Harif. Honorable Harif Hendricks of Al
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I have worked in the corporate world, and all my life I was involved with cases related to discipline in the CCMA, in the labor courts, at very senior levels and also junior levels. In the trade union movement, I used to defend workers for 10 years. So I've got a very good idea of the issue around disciplinary hearings. I am obviously shocked that there were so many cases in the water and sanitation department, but that is now water under the bridge. Although the people didn't get the water, but it's water under the bridge. I don't know whether the minister has the wisdom of Solomon to turn everything around. because it looks like it's an impossible task that the levels of corruption is so high that maybe we've only dealt with the tip of the iceberg. So, Honorable Chair, the Portfolio Committee, it is our responsibility to help the Minister turn things around. From the disciplinary cases that was presented to us this evening, we have a clear idea of where the loopholes are, where the weak points are. And we hope that in the next financial year, we are able to plug all those loopholes so that the full money that has been budgeted for and which we will vote for next week is used to provide people with water. So at least for this year, we can say that, we'll be able to use the full budget and that half of the budget won't be stolen or wasted. So we'll be able to assist more people to get water. But it is the media has to play a more active role because they are closer to the communities. There need to be more investigative journalism because it's clear that the structures of parliament has failed the nation. One of the previous honorable members mentioned the audit committees, this committee, that committee, Auditor General, 5 parliaments, 400 members doing oversight. All of us have failed miserably, and at least 60% of the money allocated for water and sanitation in all 3 tiers of government has gone down the drain. The water mustn't go down the drain, it must go into people's taps, Honorable Chair. And so I think that the Portfolio Committee, we may have to take more interest in what's happening, and we're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to get too much involved in operational matters. But if everyone else has failed the country, there's no one left but the Portfolio Committee. So it just means we've got to take on extra responsibilities, and maybe we must request from all the departments to tell us how many disciplinary cases have we held this month, how many people have been disciplined, and keep a tab on what is happening. I don't know. I don't have the solution, Honorable Chair, but it is a tragedy. It is anti-revolutionary that Parliament has given nearly R1 trillion to address water and sanitation after apartheid. And most of that money has gone down the drain. So Parliament has done its best to budget, and we are in a budget period now. Parliament has given the money, but once the money was released, everyone else failed Parliament not to pick up at a very early stage the corruption. We went on an oversight visit in the Eastern Cape, and wherever we went, people were on edge. Are they going to catch us out? And I could see, I did a bit of psychology in my studies, I could see on the faces that even the person who tests the water, he was worried, are they going to catch me out? So what was he stealing? How was he involved in corruption? So the minister has a great challenge to give us leadership, Honourable Chair, and I look forward to that leadership. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
I do see the hand of Honourable Powell, but I want, can you hold Honourable Paul, because our time is limited. Let us hear what the answers are, the responses, and that we do not miss that time, because when it is 9:15, they will switch us off, and we will not have been answered.
Okay,
just
Chair,
as a matter,
that's fine, but that's fine. I agree to that. I do have 3 things that I'd like to say. I agree to wait, but I do think that it's imperative that this committee does make some recommendations, and we don't just close after the questions responses and leave it there.
Okay. You had a question unto me. I take the challenge. You said that shall there be time when I am called to come and answer, be it by scope or by any other person? I think I must be open to do that, because if the minister has given this information and there are people that does not understand and they still want to hear from us as a committee, on behalf of the committee, I should be open to be asked and clarify that when they take a view that we are misleading them, we are lying, they will have had proper information in their book. And they have done that so many times, so I will be open to do that. Minister, in your responses, a bit of concerns that I have, and these concerns I had even during the minister's Zulu's tenure. I have declared in public that from 2012 to date, we have got 37 billion rand that cannot be accounted for properly. Yes, you are giving us report today, but if you look at the recovery rate of the money, that 283 million, 56 million, we have not reached billion, 1 billion out of the 37 billion. For instance, somebody is charged that he is a director. He gave a go-ahead of paying of about 100 million rand. Upon investigation, it is found that he is not a director, but he did sign. He must be answerable. Did someone sign on, use his signature to do that? And if that is so, who is that? And that person should be followed up. The good work you're doing is accepted, but get a little bit deeper, Minister. The recovering of 300 million rand out of 37 billion. Minister, kufanele lokungena elwandle uthi ufuna ukuphuza amanzi waqede. Ngeke uqede ulwandle ngomlomo. Yebo, Minister. Siku.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would request that we give us a short slot to Director General to answer, and I'm sure the Deputy Ministers may want, and then I'll close. Thank you very much, Chair. DG.
Thank you, Minister and Chairperson. I'd like to try and answer a few of the questions and then also ask our CFO to also come in. On the first question about the SAP case, the SIU did brief us on that issue. I'm just checking their response here. Sorry, just a second. They indicated that they couldn't trace the alleged kickback and to whom it was paid, so it was not possible for them to pursue it, but they have handed evidence that there was a kickback to the NPA for further action. I must say, Chairperson, it might be a good idea for the committee to call the SIU to give more briefings on these cases, because we're providing information to you that we've received from the SIU about their investigations. It might be better to hear directly from them. Secondly, with regard to the role of the advisory committees and the payments that were made to them, as I indicated in the presentation, the legal prescripts for disciplinary action don't allow for a disciplinary advisory committee to take action. But the terms of reference of the disciplinary advisory committee didn't say that they should take action. It just said that they should support and advise the minister and the director general. And I assume that that's what they focused on doing. It's the journalist in his article who indicated that he changed the name from a disciplinary advisory committee to a disciplinary committee, which is misleading. But secondly, he indicated that the disciplinary advisory committee had a mandate to institute disciplinary action, which was not correct. So the incorrect part is in the journalist article. the actual terms of reference for the Disciplinary Advisory Committee was legally correct. You asked a question, Honourable Powell, about where Mr. Begg's files come from. I don't know. That's what we've been trying to find out from Mr. Begg ourselves, and asking him to either provide them to us or to the SIU if he doesn't want to give them to us, so that they can be verified. We don't know whether the Disciplinary Advisory Committee had 2 million files or not. It seems a lot of files, but we don't know. That's an allegation from Mr. Begg. So we don't know whether the Disciplinary Advisory Committee did indeed have such files or not. The appointment of the advisory committees was regular because, as I indicated in the presentation, both the Water Act, the National Water Act, and the Water Services Act allows for the appointment of advisory committees. And the auditors over the years have not found that expenditure to be fruitless or wasteful. From what I can find out, their role was to provide advice and support, and they were remunerated on the basis of timesheets, which is time spent examining the information and then providing advice and support. And the auditors have not to date found that to be fruitless and wasteful expenditure. There was also a question about whether criminal charges will be laid against officials which resigned. As I indicated in the presentation, where we have evidence of criminal activity, we do refer that to the SAPS for investigation. And the SAPS, where their investigations indicate that there is indeed ground for criminal action, they do refer to the NPA. So that's the process that we take, which I think is understandable, given that we don't have criminal investigating capacity within the department. There was a question asked about the letter of demand and what does that mean legally. Simply, it was a letter which I sent to the chairperson of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee, again asking for us to be provided with their handover report within a certain period, which I indicated in the letter, and then said that if we don't get it within that period, we will have to consider legal action to try and get a handover report from the Disciplinary Advisory Committee. There was also a question about how many new cases we've had since August last year when Minister Nkunu became Minister. I haven't been able to get full information in that regard. In the few minutes I can commit to responding to that. What I can say is that we've had our internal audit unit has received 22 new allegations relating to various matters, most of them related to financial misconduct, and they're in various stages of investigating them. A number of them have been completed, some are still in process, and some of them will be leading to disciplinary cases. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Can I also ask our CFO to respond to the question about what we've done and what we're doing as a department to improve the controls in the department to reduce the risk of corruption and irregular expenditure occurring in the future? Frans?
Thank you, DG. Good evening. Yeah, just briefly, the department has put in various systems of controls, particularly around the delegations and policies. We have reviewed the department's policies and delegations, both internally within the department and those that relates to the oversight and monitoring of the implementing agents. We're working very close in ensuring that the implementing agents adhere to procurement processes. And also one key element of internal controls relates to the staff training. We're training our staff within the SCM environment, but also our procurement committees, both the bid adjudication, evaluation committees. The department has put in a process where before the members serve on those committees, they are taken through a thorough training to ensure that they can account for the decisions that they are making with regard to evaluation as well as awards of tenders. And regarding the 18 billion of irregular expenditure, as indicated in the report, the disciplinary processes are ongoing. There are also investigations that the department is concluding, but also National Treasury, as required, do not condone until you have demonstrated that loss determination has been concluded. For example, in the case of Guyane, this litigation process in place, you also have to confirm that there were no losses. And if there were losses in that transaction, accountability for that, who's responsible for that, consequence management as well. So there are various measures that we've put in place, DG, that is the highlight of those that we are currently implementing within the department and the implementing agents. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
I don't know whether any of the deputy ministers would want to take a bite. Mahlobo?
Well, thanks, Matingan, and thanks, dear Magats and the members of parliament. Safe to say that we thank the chair minister that he allowed you, when you voluntarily asked for this time to be set aside, because one of the things that has to be noted about this ministry is your drive that we should be able to account. And members of parliament, we are actually not going to run away from accounting because it's the right thing to do. And corruption and the cancer, members, we are correct. It denies us the opportunity to discharge our mandate to bring water to many South Africans, including decent sanitation. Well, the report, Chair, indeed, it covers the total sum, because one of the things that we wanted to demonstrate, like Minister said, is that there is a commitment to accountability. Number two, there is willingness, political and leadership to confront these issues so that the low confidence people have on government in our department is something that we want to erase that particular slate. But internally, Chair, we have to confirm that there is capacity and institutional capability. Especially, we must thank those men and women who are actually working in the internal audit unit, the risk management unit, and the audit committees. Because most of these issues that the other agencies are working on them are actually self-initiated investigations that have been there. But because of the capability of the law enforcement agencies, especially the SIU, the Hawks, and the others, that's why some of these matters are being referred. Well, on our side, led by Minister, we should be able to work closely with those law enforcement agencies so that those matters can be expedited, because one of the responsibilities we have is also to communicate amongst us in the public service that if there are certain employees who are actually facing certain matters or they're in conflict with the law, there is this new tendency that they resign from one department or to the other, or they resign from one sphere or the other. We should probably be able to share that information, especially with important organizations like DPSA, so that you don't have those people actually falling through the cracks as a matter of dealing with those. But also equally, we appreciate that media must play an important role. But at the very same time, media must also be very careful to be used as a propaganda machinery, especially in some of the inaccuracies that are being made here around some of these issues. The department, as it has been said, Comrade Chair, we have nothing to hide. And those figures that we are actually giving it here, these are the records that we have. Other than that, there are no other records that are there. But we will not only handle these issues only, Chair. Issues around integrity that Minister emphasized when he arrived in August as we became a new ministry, and issues of morality and ethics is one of the issues that we are putting the biggest premium, that we need to act with integrity, we need to be ethical in our own ways of doing. But more importantly, Chair, where money has been wasted, we will spare no effort to follow it through. But I do agree with Honorable Hendricks. Our people, they deserve to receive water like yesterday. And we thought that this is a platform that we should account. If there is other platform that Parliament will ask Minister Mtun and ourselves that we should be able to account, who are we to say that we will not be able to actually provide those particular responses? But we also welcome the issues of how you have responded, of being open as a ministry in dealing with these issues. And together we should be able to clean up the department, but not only the department. You could see some of the capability the department has is actually cutting across other entities that minister is leading, because some of these issues not only happening in the department, but in the entire sector. We will also have to look very careful on some of the issues that are happening on water-related matters that have to deal with local government, like other members have raised in the past, where money just disappears when it was meant for service delivery with respect to water and sanitation. I will just stop there, Chair, now, Macingwan. Thank you.
Deputy Minister Makatsi.
Thank you very much, Minister, Chairperson, and the entire portfolio committee. Minister, let me say to the portfolio committee, it is indeed something that is very exciting that people get to know the truth about the Department of Water and Sanitation. And actually, we have laid bare to everybody to appreciate the challenges that we are going through, but also to see the work that is being done, because it's not only challenges, but there is a work that is going through, working with the SAPS, working with SIU, and every other institution to try and make sure that we deal with matters related to corruption and fraud. Is now an open thing that everybody can be able to see. But of importance, Minister, is that whenever there are issues or whenever there are reports, let the report be the truth and nothing else but the truth, and not have something that actually brings I would say it brings the country into disrepute, because when you read through what the Daily Maverick has really reported about the department, it definitely says to the people of the Republic that the Department of Water and Sanitation actually has got no leadership, in essence, in codes, and that is why they can be able to leave things as it is, or that is why we've got over 2 million files that we cannot be able to account to. And I think for me, or for the department, this is something that actually it's, as you have indicated, Minister, that we need to look at the legalities of everything that is being said in this and be able to say, how do we move forward? And we are not saying that media must not report, but we are saying media should be able to be an informative tool that the people of the Republic can be able to use. Like we have now laid bare everything so that we believe and we expect that the media that is on this platform should be able to say this is what is real in the Department of Water and Sanitation, and then we're able to move forward. But Minister, I really believe that Parliament, out of this presentation that we have been able to make, will be able to have a report that will be taken to Parliament and be able to have resolutions which actually the department can be able to implement based on what the parliamentary guide, the Parliament and the portfolio committee will be guiding us around. But really appreciate what honorable members have been said. At all said and done, water is a right and sanitation is dignity. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much. Just to sum up, those who engage in criminality while they're in the employ of the department and then they resign, were clear on that we will follow you up to the end, criminally or in terms of civil claims. even even looking at people's estate, in some cases, it will be necessary to go all the way, assisted by law enforcement agencies. Second one is how do we recover money that would have been used by the committee at hand, which clearly was a duplication. That's a matter to ponder by all of us, to ponder on by all of us, and including the committee, to say, is there a case of a claim, and we look at it together. But it is a concern that there would have been a committee simple to take files from people in the department who would be doing work and so on, and then advise the minister and the DG. The last question is, well, not the question, is the issue of the media. I think Dear Magat is spot on. I think the media has a very, very important and big role, as has been demonstrated in the short history of our country and of our democracy. That they remain independent, they remain fearless, they remain accurate in terms of the truth, and not play it in a manner that doesn't assist. Otherwise, they have a role to play, and they need to be free, but take care to reflect on the truth and as accurately as possible. In that way, media will be assisting all of us, whether in government or outside government. Chair, finally, the issue of 37 billion that we are talking about, it's something that we need to look at, because we need to unpack it to say, how does that question arise? Is it money that has been and as accumulated as a result of poor accountability or non-accountability? Is it not part of the report covers 10 years? So if we say 37 billion, we need to unpack it so that we don't leave a mysterious figure unpacked. If it's within these investigations and so on, or let's say so, or if there's 37 billion outside all of this, let us also say so. We'll look at the matter and engage you, and of course your concern we shared that cases delay, they take a long time. Well, it's something that we need to do by engaging SIU now and then. I think since we came, we've engaged with them almost 3 times in long meetings, and then Saps and all other agencies. With this, we thank you very much, Chair, and the Portfolio Committee as a whole.
Thanks, Honorable Powell. You will realize that we are at that time of ending the meeting.
Chair, please, can I make a recommendation? We've got 6 minutes.
Knowing you can take 15 minutes in 6 minutes.
I promise you, can you give me 2 minutes?
Take the two.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. Chair, there was a draft terms of reference for the establishment of a commission of inquiry into the functioning of the Department in Water and Sanitation that was sent to, that actually came from SCOPA in February 2018. And that inquiry was blocked. I would like to make a formal recommendation that's minuted today, that inquiry be reestablished, because I think that it is necessary, and it will give the minister, who's very clearly a proponent and an advocate of transparency and accountability, given that he's come here tonight and played open cards with us. It will give him and his team an opportunity to, as Dr. Phillips says, unpack further the cases and what is being done to right size and root out corruption in this department. And then just to state for the record, again, that if we had acted when these matters had been brought to committee by members such as myself, we wouldn't be sitting in this position. We knew we've had this information for years, Chair, and the committee members time and again shut down the requests for these inquiries and investigations and summoning the ex-minister before the committee to account. If Parliament had done its job in the past 2 years, we wouldn't be here. Thank you to the Minister, thank you to Dr. Phillips, and I just want to also say that the Daily Maverick does require our protection. The media are the fourth pillar of our democracy, and just thank journalists for doing their job.
Yes.
Outside of narratives,
you see, that's why I will not give you
2
time.
minutes. I'm looking at my clock. It's 41. I'm 2 minutes. It's exactly 2 minutes. I'm finished.
Let's talk as a members of parliament. You are not a shop sort of Daily Maverick here.
No, but
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Country. Thanks,
thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody in the portal. And I want to appreciate colleagues, all of you who took time to sit with us. We were at some point 104 in the portal. We have spoken to quite a lot of people. It's important. Where you think you want to be clarified by either the minister, the DG, the deputy minister, or myself, or any other of our committee members, don't be afraid to phone us. We can talk to you. But at least there is a report that we will receive. Thank you very much. The meeting stand adjourned.
Leadership.
Leadership. Okay, mooi dag. Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Recording stopped.
Thank you.